Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by TaylorMade.
Big news tonight is world number 7, Brooks Koepka, has withdrawn from the Northern Trust due to injury. He entered the week ranked 97th in the FedEx Cup standings, and he will not be able to qualify for next week's BMW Championship. After a 2019 that included an end-of-the-year procedure on his knee, Brooks Koepka produced most things that you don't want to do the most of, and that is miscuts. You can see there this season, 6 of them in total, in a very finite number of starts, only 13. Had that encouraging week at the RBC Heritage, finishing 7th, and he was set up after 54 holes at the PGA, but he had a disappointing Sunday, missed a cut last week at Wyndham. His season is now over. And with that, I say good evening from Orlando. Todd Lewis is joining me from TPC Boston. Todd, let's get right to it. The injuries lingered, and now the news today. You know, for us to look at him, we talk about decisions being made and when a decision might come as to, what is next. What did you find out today, and when might we see him again? And good evening.
Well, Gary, let's go back to last fall when all this occurred. That's when Koepka slipped on some wet concrete while competing in South Korea and, according to him, severely injured his knee, so much so that in the spring he told me that his left knee will never be 100% again. You have that issue, then another issue popped up over the last month or so, and that's while battling through that left knee pain. Another issue being that left hip started to feel some pain in Koepka. He tried to protect his left knee, some were saying, during the swing, and that's why the issue with the left hip came about. 3 times during the PGA Championship, a trainer came out on the course to treat Koepka's left hip. Last week, after missing the cut at the Wyndham Championship, Koepka said this about his golf swing: "If I can physically do it, then yes, everything is fine." He may be at the point now where physically he can't do it and everything is not fine, and that's why he pulled out of the Northern Trust, ending his season. Koepka has played the last 6 PGA Tour events, so this withdrawal and thus ending his season may be a bit of a blessing in disguise. Now he can rest and rehab that left hip and that left knee and get ready for the U.S. Open next month. Gary?
All right, Todd, back to you in just a moment. Tripp Eisenhower with me. Most athletes, Tripp, they talk about how, I might have come back too early. Mm-hmm. Rarely do you hear them say, I waited too long. Right. With respect to him, when he gets back, what will be the keys with respect to his performance to be right in the mix?
Well, a couple of things come to mind when I hear about this injury. First of all, it makes sense that you compound injuries to protect one, and you do that with the complex movement of the golf swing, especially the engine of the golf swing now is that lower body more than ever, and there's so much pressure put on the left knee. We've seen left knee injuries from a lot of the top players. Now, his happened with a slip and fall, not repeated stress on the left knee that we've seen happen to Tiger Woods. The curious thing for me, though, Gary, is we had a really prolonged break from golf. Yeah. And he had a chance to get that knee better, and he came out, and it really wasn't. Right. And it kept reoccurring. So, to me, does 3 weeks, 4 weeks, does that really fix it? And ultimately, I know the toughest decision to make as a player is having surgery to get it better, because that would wipe out 2020 for him, obviously. But sometimes you've got to take that step back to take the step forward into 21 and say, look, it's unfortunate. It's where I am. I just don't know if rest is going to do it alone, but now compounding it with the hip, now we're starting to snowball a little bit, and I don't like to see that. This is wise for him, and as Todd alluded to, this could be a blessing in disguise for him. But again, I'm just curious if 4 weeks is going to do it. He did have stem cell treatment on it, and that doesn't seem to be fixing it. So the next step, I'm not a physician, but the next logical step would be some sort of surgical intervention. And the arthroscope or the scoping now of the knees and stuff that they can do, it is pretty minimal, and it is kind of at a low-risk procedure. So I think ultimately that's going to be where this could end up for Brooks Koepka.
You reported on Tiger yesterday. He's making a significant change in his bag this week that goes back to the last time we saw him. What more can you tell us?
The last time we saw him competing was at the PGA Championship at Harding Park, and he made a putter switch then, going to his backup putter. This putter, built by Scotty Cameron, very similar to the Newport 2 putter that he has used for many, many years. However, there were weights that he could replace on the sole of that putter. He used that putter in competition for the very first time, and it was not spectacular. He did not finish inside the top 35 in any of the major putting categories. So that putter is back to being a backup, and back in his hands this week at TPC Boston. Old faithful, the Scotty Cameron that he won 14 of 15 major championships with. He was on TPC Boston today with that putter, playing a 9-hole practice round with Justin Thomas, Harold Varner, and Ryan Palmer. Woods only played the back 9. He did not play a practice round on Tuesday, so only 9 holes of practice in preparation for the Northern Trust. He knows this golf course very well. He won here back in 2006. Tiger playing just 9 holes offers him an opportunity to conserve energy for not only this week, but if he plays well, 4 events over the next 5 weeks, counting the U.S. Open. Tiger said in regards to that tough stretch, and remember, he hasn't played in back-to-back weeks at all in 2020, Tiger said, "We are all getting used to this schedule." And on the subject of scheduling, Tiger today did make a big announcement. He has committed to play in next week's BMW Championship. So even if he finishes first or second and would likely get him a spot in the Tour Championship, he says he will play next week in Chicago, or just outside of the Chicago area.
Now, Rory McIlroy, you know, Todd, there was a period where he was truly the surest thing in terms of contending into the weekend, having a chance to win going into Sunday. But it has been a sluggish stretch since the restart. We talked about going to places he was unfamiliar. He had never gone to Colonial. How about the mindset of a guy who's also had success at TPC Boston?
Yeah, he's still searching a bit for his golf swing. You're right, he is the defending FedEx Cup champion. He has won the FedEx Cup twice. He has won on this property, TPC Boston, twice over the years. And I did get a chance to catch up with Rory today, and I asked him, with his success on this golf course and in the FedEx Cup playoffs, does that give him a sense of comfort heading into the next 3 weeks?
I think a couple of weeks ago, going back to Harding Park, I was talking about having success on that golf course, but that doesn't necessarily translate into having a chance to win. I think the most important thing, especially for me right now, is execution. And if I can execute the shots and hit the shots the way I want to, doesn't matter if I've won on a golf course before or not, or I've seen a golf course before or I haven't. You know, that's the most important thing, and that's what I haven't been doing. You know, even you can have all the course knowledge and all these great feelings about a course, but if you can't hit the shots, it doesn't mean anything. So most important for me is just hitting good shots, seeing putts go in, all that sort of good stuff. And if I can do that this week, then obviously I'll have a decent chance.
Now, Bryson DeChambeau put himself into contention to win the PGA Championship at Harding Park, which was his last start. He has a positive history here at TPC Boston as well, winning on this property back in 2018. Strength, of course, is a big part of Bryson's game, but I caught up with him today and I asked him, is stamina as big a deal for him?
That's why I took last week off, unfortunately. I would have loved to have played, but at some point in time, I have to get some rest and get some strength back. I feel like each time I go out and play, I lose a little bit by the end of the week, and then when I have that week off, I gain some good strength and feel like I come back fresh and ready to go.
Where are you right now with your game?
Well, I worked really hard these past 2 days, or 3 days, I guess you could say. Cumulative total of 9 hours on Saturday and Sunday. I was working on hitting it a little bit straighter. I feel like I figured something out. It's worked so far throughout the whole bag. We're going to solidify it, and hopefully it plays well into this weekend.
So what has Bryson figured out? Well, first, his goal is to be more accurate off the tee. And how is he doing that? With wrist stabilization, according to Bryson. And I said, are you going to reduce your speed to try to hit more fairways? He said, absolutely not. I'm going to swing as hard as I can, but hopefully with more stabilization this week. We'll see how it pans out. Gary?
Todd, thank you very much. It's interesting. How have we gone from Rory being the surest top 5 every week to Bryson being a better bet, maybe to win the FedEx Cup from the restart in June to now? Tripp's going to answer that in just a moment. But, rarely do the best really pause and watch others and actually talk about it? Well, together, Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau shared a round. It was the final round at Colonial. Here was what Rory had to say about DeChambeau.
Obviously, at the start of the year, he came out and he was a bit bigger, and you could see he was getting a bit of speed and stuff, and he was hitting it a long way. But he hit a couple of drives on Sunday that Harry and I just looked at each other and were like, holy that was unbelievable.
Okay, what is the best way to explain how legitimately Bryson DeChambeau has kind of flipped the script?
Yeah.
From the beginning of June and us coming back and the tour playing to where we sit right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's make it analogous to a horse race. I mean, yeah, Rory McIlroy was quick out of the gates, and in turn one, he looked like the horse that was going to win the race. And now it's clearly Bryson DeChambeau. Momentum's on his side. He's had his best finish ever in a major, finishing fourth at Harding Park. But here's the reason why. And, you know, I talk about him changing the game in a lot of ways, and he is. Not necessarily what other players will start doing. There will be some who will start doing what he's doing, but it's more the younger generation. And I mean, hats off to him for doing it. But when you're ahead of Rory McIlroy, who's head and shoulders the best driver of the golf ball the last 6 seasons on the PGA Tour. I mean, you could put Dustin Johnson up there with Rory, but I mean, Rory, as far as accuracy and length and able to dominate with a driver, well, that's been mitigated a little bit by Bryson. I mean, when you're that far ahead, but it's translating for Bryson into more birdies. I mean, he's making over 5 birdies a round since the restart. It's tough to play bad when you're averaging 5 birdies a round, okay?
Right.
So you do that, and how he's actually putting as well. I mean, let's not forget, that's always been an issue for Bryson, is how inconsistent he is on the greens. I mean, he's sitting top 10 in strokes gained putting. He's sitting at 6th right now. And when you're hitting it the kind of distances he's hitting it, the only weakness I would say, and I saw it at Harding Park a couple of times, he had wedges in his hand, short wedges that he hit 15, 20 feet. He keeps tightening that up. Oh, look out. I mean, we could approach 6 birdies a round on average.
Yeah, what you said, for all of the length, and he's averaging 323 and change in driving distance. He was not number one when the restart happened. That was Cam Champ. He has now surpassed him. Strokes gained off the tee. You see what he's done just in an abbreviated period of time. His improvement putting is something that does not get enough attention.
It doesn't, and also his deficiency in his wedges and how there's still a gap there, okay? I mean, that's the big thing. And so, yeah, the putting does not get enough attention, but he works very hard on his putting, and it's paid off.